Hello there. The IDKY, I Don't Know Yet podcast is underway. We just presented the first 4 podcast episodes with Jenny Sarno, who was an incredible witness to a woman who has a resilient spirit and continues to move forth in relationships and love and joy, even though she's had some very challenging circumstances. The next podcast that has already been filmed and is in the editing process is William Wishbone. He is an incredibly creative, intelligent pirate. So his episodes will be coming out in January. In November, we had a lot of momentum and there was a lot of great energy. Everything was feeling like it was moving along very well. People who are interested in being interviewed in the new year, so it felt like things were moving quite nicely. Then we paused for Thanksgiving. So much to be incredibly grateful for. Can't even count all the blessings, and I'm just in such a place of gratitude. And so looking so forward to Thanksgiving, getting together with friends and family and celebrating the time. And yet, with all that gratitude, there's always struggle underneath it. In the holidays, there's people who are no longer able to come to our Thanksgiving table because maybe they have passed away, family that couldn't make it due to the flu. People have different plans, so sometimes they just look differently than what we anticipate or expect. I've been told quite frequently that I'm super sensitive. I realize that, I recognize it, I own it. I've asked God about it, saying, seriously, why do I have to have this super sensitivity? And it hit pretty hard this Thanksgiving with some people I know in deep grief that is very raw and very hard right now. People battling cancer that I love, just all kinds of hardship. People needing jobs. And it just feels like, along with the gratitude, always sits in the backside, the hardship, the struggle, the difficulties, the challenges. And so I have a hard time letting all that go, and I'm working on it, and I am getting better, but it still is just a part of who I am. Then after Thanksgiving comes December, and all of a sudden we're in the big old Christmas rush, and I start feeling the anxiety of that. I'm starting to recognize my AI, not artificial intelligence, but anxiety indicators are arising. I'm having a hard time getting a good breath. I feel like I'm impatient, short-tempered, just not being my best self as to what I like to do when I feel like things are in balance. So I do the normal things that people do. I have my coping mechanisms to try to keep me in check. Recognize that I need to make sure I keep up with my exercise, stay getting outside even though the weather's getting cold, eliminate some of the things that cause me stress. Maybe that Christmas village isn't going to go up this year, knowing that I need to eat right because the holidays are the holidays and I don't have very much self-control when they come around. So to keep that in balance, to eat healthy, and decided, a massage might be good. So I was doing all the things that people do when they're feeling stress and anxiety. It was helping, but it wasn't making this struggle go away. I just kept praying about it, went to adoration, and was really trying to stay intentional with the season, holding on to what this is about, not making it something that takes away from my ability to sit and enjoy what Advent and Christmas is all about. I'm starting to realize that voice of insecurity is busting through. My false self started coming forth, and I don't know about you, but this is what I hear when this little insecurity voice arises. Why are you doing all of this? Does anybody really care about your books? You're putting a lot of energy forth. Like, does it matter to anybody else or just to you? Or are you sure this is all worth it? Those voices really started coming forth. So I started kind of spiraling, so to speak. I'm trying to figure out how not to let that happen anymore, but it still does. And then some crazy things started happening. I believe our God is so huge, and I call him by a bunch of different names. They just all have a capital letter in front of them because they're all pretty amazing. It just felt like things were turning around, and it was through a divine nature that it was happening. The first thing that I started recognizing that something was moving for me, I wasn't doing anything, it was coming at me. It was just kind of being present, and these things were showing up. The first one was a man who I had never met, came up to me at a conference that my husband was at for his business, and he had my book in his hand and asked me to autograph it. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And it wasn't even the newest book that I wrote. It wasn't The Path to Your True Self. It was the first book that I wrote called Illuminate, which I'm even a little less confident in that writing. But he told me how he had been raised by a mother who dealt with mental disease. And it was a really trying upbringing. And how there were some stories in the book that really resonated with him. So we had some amazing conversations around that. And I was just like, wow, that was so unexpected. Somebody I'd never even met before. My husband just told him that I wrote a book, and he got interested and went online and bought it. That was just a complete surprise. And then the next thing that happened as I was at this conference with my husband, I decided to go out, roam around Austin, Texas, which is where it was. I usually go as a tourist, but the weather was not cooperating, and a lot of things that normally make Austin what it is, outdoor music, all of that, it just wasn't happening. So rather than sitting in my disappointment, I decided I'm just going to go walk out and see what happens. And I was not disappointed. Through a creative mind, I saw all kinds of amazing things that got me thinking about the podcast again, because there's just so much out there that we just don't know about. And so things started moving there in a very organic way. And I got a lot of stories in my head with that visit. And then I got a text from a friend, a long friend that started reading the book, the second book, The Path to Your True Self. And she's from a different culture than I am. And we have very different backgrounds. We're very different places. And she said that there was so much that was resonating with her. And I was shocked, like, wow, okay. So there's two people now that something that was in those books resonated with them. I'm not going to claim it was me. It was really the power of the Holy Spirit working through me and whatever was coming forth and connecting with them. But it gave me some motivation to keep going when, as I tell my husband, I really just want to throw my computer in the pond. That's my way of saying I'm so frustrated, I'm ready to give up. But I kept walking. And so my editor, Colin, agreed to meet with me today. I kind of shared with them how I was feeling, like, what am I doing this for? And he's young, but he's got a lot of wisdom and very helpful and getting me back on track and reminding me of why I'm doing this. One of the questions that came into my head when my false self was trying to break through was, what else are you going to do? And I agree with that. Like, I am having fun, even if I'm just doing it for myself. It doesn't mean anything to anybody else. I'm really enjoying my time, and it's a lot of fun to do this. So why not keep going? And then after my meeting, I ran into a dear friend. This friend has been through hell. And she said something really profound to me that kind of tied so much together for me. As she was grieving her husband when her kids were in high school, she made the comment that people couldn't meet her where she was. When she was grieving, people couldn't just let her grieve. They needed more from her. And in that moment, I knew that she was speaking to my oversensitivity. There's a reason I have an oversensitive heart. And I think the reason is because of this podcast. It's because my hope in the podcast IDKY, we're going to meet some fascinating people. And we're going to meet them where they are. We don't need them to come to where we are. Let's learn from them. Let's watch them. Let's see how they navigate life and how they handle hard things and how they look at the world. Because I believe there's so much that we can learn. There's so much that we just don't know yet. Stay blessed, y'all.